Welcome to my 1700th video, and I thought I'd do something different today, take you to the Hidden Waters Preserve. This is in Eustis, Florida, and this is the site of a sinkhole which developed many years ago. Originally the property was a golf course, and then it became an orange grove, and then the sinkhole developed. And while we're taking a tour, I thought I would tell you about my first new car, a 1963 Dodge Dart, and it was a white two-door sedan with a post, and it had automatic transmission, torque flight, and it had the 170 cubic inch slant 6. Now they made a bigger version of it, the 225. Here we have a little information about the preserve here. The Water Authority owns it, and it serves as a recharge area for the Florida aquifer. It's important in Florida because that's where we get our drinking water. We don't generally get it from creeks and streams. We get it directly from the underground aquifer, which isn't that far down. Towards the end of this video, you're going to see one of the streams that is at the base of this sinkhole. Now, this is I'm descending into a pit here. You can see with the jarring that's going on here, it's because I'm fighting gravity as I'm going down here. You can't quite get that illusion just looking at this two-dimensionally, but trust me, it's downhill. And you can see across the top on the other side, that's the other side above the sinkhole. And we're going to go around the sinkhole completely, and I've cut out some of this so that I don't want to bore you too much. And I also made a part 2 to finish up the video. Well, let me get back to the the 63 Dodge Dart. You got into the Mopar group of cars, I think, because of my aunt's 1948 Plymouth. I really liked that car. She got it brand new right after World War II, and she taught me how to shift gears in that car, and I would shift gears for her. It was pretty cool. I was doing that probably around 10 years of age. I would be sitting side of her, she'd be going down the road, and I knew when she expected me to shift gears, so that's how I learned. Anyhow, I'd also back that car around in the driveway, so I had some experience driving that when I was pretty young. So I like Mopar cars, and in my town there were two dealers. There was the Dodge Chrysler dealer, and there was the Plymouth DeSoto dealer. Now, I never could deal with the Plymouth DeSoto dealer. They always seemed to have a price that was a little too high, and the Dodge Chrysler dealer seemed to be more reasonable. So I was able to strike a deal on that 270, brand new, and it had a green interior, by the way, and it worked well. There were only a couple areas that gave some problems, and one of them was the radio. I seem to run into a bunch of radios in Chrysler products that failed early. I got a 64 and a 68, and they all required being taken out of the car and fixed. So anyhow, that was a problem with this one, but that was easily fixed, and they stood behind that, so no problem. And we took it down to, I was working in another state, so it was about an hour drive away. So the owner's son drove, he went with me, and then I drove him back to get the car inspected in that state and get the transfer of title and all that taken care of. About 2 months into ownership, I was working at a distance and driving see my folks, and it was a rainstorm, and the variable speed electric windshield wipers failed, and nothing, zero. So I took it into the dealer, and it was a little hard to get home with that being a problem. But anyhow, they took rather than have me wait to get the part, they took a part off another new car and put it on this one, and that worked fine. So ownership was fairly uneventful. It worked fine. I had it for about a year. And then I set my sights on the 64 Dodge Dart GT convertible, red, with a red interior. By the way, we're approaching the sinkhole now. You can see where the grass has grown up pretty high. So okay, I'm looking at the 64 Dodge Dart, and well, my folks' Falcon was kind of needing valve work, so we decided the valves weren't getting much oil, so decided to trade that in, and they would take the 63 and I would buy the 64. So that worked out pretty well. So here we had the 63 still being used by them, and I had the 64 convertible. Well, one of the I'll give you a little bit more detail whatever happened to the 63. We went on a trip out to Arizona, and on the way fell victim to typical ploy of the time, and that's going to stopping at a service station, and they look at the car and say, "Oh my, the shock absorbers need changing. Yeah, you better change them right away." So they got them changed, but probably they didn't need to be changed. And then we continued on, and on the way back on the turnpike, I noticed that the temperature needle went way up, but the car seemed okay. Then it started making pinging noises, so I thought, something is really wrong here. Turns out that
this is where we came from.
oh,
This is the bottom of the sinkhole here. That's where we're going.
I'm going to let you listen in on some of the sounds here on the
Spring.
On the trail. There's a spring there at the bottom of the sinkhole. Notice how chalky looking it is. Dissolved clay, I assume. Anyhow, this thing is overheating. Stop at a gas station and they look at it and say, "Oh my!"
Go uphill.
They say this needs new antifreeze. Well, what didn't need new antifreeze? To make a long story short, the thermostat had frozen in the closed position, so no wonder it was overheating. By the time we got it to a real dealer, they found that the impeller and the water pump had melted. It was that hot, and as a result, I'm sure I'd say the pistons were close to welding themselves to the bore of the engine. But anyhow, it did start. It got us to a service station, got us to an authorized dealer, but they didn't. The guarantee didn't apply to that, and so as a result, it lost compression. And it did start, but it wouldn't start in cold weather. It was really tough to start it. So we kept it for probably another year or so, and then finally traded it on a 1964 Plymouth that was